The most interesting experience is clearly South Korea. This is, without any doubt, today in the world, the country where basic income has the fastest growth in the mindset, in the political debate, and that's why I took the initiative to invite Jong-sung today to discuss with us, which I find very interesting and very close to what our French association is promoting for France. And that's why I think we have ideas to share between the two countries of similar sizes of population, similar wealth per habitant. So we have certainly a lot to share. So thank you, Jong-sung, for accepting our invitation.
Thank you for inviting me to this webinar and introducing me. Some modest basic income programs have been launched since 2016. First, in Seongnam, a city of 1 million population, and in which my university, Gachon University, is located. Then Mayor Lee Jae-myung introduced youth basic income, which is just for 1 year for 24-year-olds. And especially after the outbreak of COVID-19, with the discussion of universal emergency relief funds, public interest and the support for universal basic income rose. And then in September 2020, the Conservative People's Power Party revised the party's platform, included the introduction of UBI as its main party policy. However, public support for universal basic income declined for several months before the election, and Lee Jae-myung lost the election. And Yoon Suk-yeol, the People's Power Party's presidential candidate and now President of Korea, strongly objected to UBI. And during the election campaign, Lee Jae-myung, although he pledged to introduce UBI, he downplayed his UBI policy.
Bon, l'histoire du basic income en Corée, qui est essentiellement l'histoire d'un homme, qui est Lee Jae-myung, qui a commencé comme maire de la ville de Seongnam, puis gouverneur de la province de Gyeonggi, puis candidat à l'élection générale. Et partout où il est allé, comme maire, comme gouverneur, puis comme quasi-président, eh ben, il a poussé le revenu universel. Malheureusement, le succès populaire, donc on voit les chiffres qui étaient à hauteur de 61,8% dans les sondages en faveur du revenu universel, s'est un peu effrité au moment durant la campagne électorale 2022. Et du coup, il l'a perdu de très peu. Voilà.
Donc à un moment, les deux partis, de centre droit comme de centre gauche, les deux avaient le revenu universel dans leur programme. Oui. Et c'est lorsque ce PPP a choisi son candidat, en l'occurrence Yoon Suk-yeol, que là, celui-ci étant opposé au revenu universel, il a viré du programme du PPP. Voilà, mais c'est juste, il faut se rendre compte à quel point les deux partis principaux de Corée, les deux avaient intégré le sujet à un moment donné, quoi.
Lee Jae-myung, as a presidential candidate of the Democratic Party pledged to introduce universal basic income for all Koreans at a very modest level. So in the first year, just around $200 will be given to everyone, and it will be increased to about $800 in 4 installments per year within the presidential term of 5 years. And it will be either conditional on public approval. And secondly, he will expand the youth basic income for 19 to 29-year-olds to the entire country. So it will be, so the expansion is not just for the entire country, also from the just 24-year-old for 1 year to about 11 years. Well, so in addition to universal basic income of 1 million won per year, additional 1 million won per year will be given to the youth. And the rural basic income for all residents in selected rural areas. So the whole population of rural areas is about 10 million people, and up to 1 million won per year will be given to rural residents. And also basic income for artists. And these programs will not replace the existing the public transfer programs or reduce them. And he also proposed to expand some of the children's allowance and basic income for the elderly. Estimated budget for basic incomes is the biggest is universal basic income, because although it's a modest level, it will be given to everyone in Korea. So the total amount required for basic income programs is about $50 billion, or 3% of Korea's GDP. And also, he promised to expand some social allowances, so some additional budget will be required. And his financing plan is first budget savings and reducing tax expenditures. And most importantly, he proposed 2 new taxes. One is a land holding tax or land value tax, and carbon tax. So the rationale is land value tax is good for the country, which will reduce land speculation and also help lower skyrocketing land prices and real estate prices, including housing prices.
C'est lié à l'histoire aussi du revenu universel dans la province de Jeonju qu'avait mis en place le candidat Lee, où en fait il avait focalisé sur des populations qui en avaient besoin, quoi. Et typiquement, là, on voit apparaître, un peu comme chez nous en France, les problèmes qu'ont les jeunes pour se financer, les ruraux, les artistes qui ont finalement besoin d'un système social de type socle citoyen universel en termes financiers. Donc le projet du candidat Lee représente 50 milliards de dollars. La grosse masse étant évidemment la partie distribuée à tous les Coréens, donc 3% du PIB. Quoi.
Population is now decreasing. Okay? Korea has very low fertility rate. So the fertility rate required to maintain the population is about 2.08, if I am correct. Now, Korea's fertility rate is less than 1. And especially many rural areas are facing real threat of extinction. So, we hope rural basic income will help prevent extinction of rural areas.
Et donc là, ce qu'a dit Jong-sung, c'est que pour créer une nouvelle taxe, c'est difficile, hein, c'est vraiment pas du tout populaire. Mais là, vu qu'elle va quand même bénéficier à la grosse majorité de la population est bénéficiaire nette de cette taxe, parce que ce qu'ils vont récupérer en basic income va être supérieur pour la grosse majorité à ce qu'ils vont payer en land value tax. Donc ça semble politiquement vendable.
The major issues were threefold. First, universal or targeted. So many politicians attacked why you should waste scarce resources to people like very rich people like Lee Gun-hee, Samsung CEO. Another attack point was Lee's modest plan, probably too modest, too small amount of basic income payment is not very helpful. So that was another attack point. So it's better to concentrate scarce resources to the people, to the really needy people, rather than giving it in small amount to everyone. Criticism about creating a heavy tax on land holdings. Especially, Korea has a comprehensive real estate tax, which is actually targeted on housing. I myself and we scholars who advised Lee Jae-myung recommended universal land holdings tax will replace comprehensive real estate tax. But Lee Jae-myung didn't mention it, and the people thought, in addition to comprehensive real estate, Lee Jae-myung want to impose probably more heavier land holding tax, and that became unpopular.
Et les gens ont compris que la taxe sur la terre que proposait le candidat Lee viendrait en plus de la taxe foncière impopulaire, alors que visiblement son projet c'est de remplacer la taxe foncière par la taxe sur la terre. Et donc là, visiblement, un défaut d'explication de la part du candidat qui lui a joué des tours dans l'opinion.
Sur ce dernier point, j'ajoute un petit commentaire. Là, parmi les participants aujourd'hui, je vois Alain Tranois. Alain a sorti un livre tout récemment sur justement la question de la fiscalité de la terre. Et donc, j'espère que Alain, après notre présentation, pourra peut-être intervenir pour commenter ce sujet qui est un sujet, je pense, tout à fait majeur.
And during the debate, actually, Lee Jae-myung was quite defensive and passive. We hoped he would more actively engage in debate and try to persuade the public, but he more downplayed his basic income policy. So that was a bit disappointing. So currently, President Yoon shows no interest in universal basic income or negative income tax, although his party's official platform still includes introduction of universal basic income. But some politicians within his party is promoting negative income taxes. So Mayor of Seoul, Oh Se-hoon, launched a 3-year randomized controlled trial of safety income, which is a household-based negative income tax. And Yoo Seung-min, who competed with President Yoon regarding the party's nomination, but failed, proposed fair income, which is an individual-based version of negative income tax. And now Lee Jae-myung is chair of the opposition Democratic Party, which maintains a majority seats in the National Assembly. And the new governor of Gyeonggi Province, Kim Dong-yeon, proposes opportunity income, which seems to be a version of a participation income. The precise content of his opportunity income is yet to be unveiled. And he is continuing rural basic income experiment, which was launched by Lee Jae-myung. And currently there is a discussion of rural basic income in several counties in South Jeolla province, where the governor is from the Democratic Party. And in Sinan County of South Jeolla province, let me elaborate on the Gyeonggi rural basic income pilot. So 5-year rural basic income experiment in a rural village of 4,000 population with another rural village as a control group in Gyeonggi province was launched. And every resident in the experimental village receives 150,000 won, or about 120 US dollars per month, which is in a form of 3 months perishable local currency. So it's unconditional except for the residence requirement, unlike farmers' basic income. And it does not replace any existing benefits, and there is no additional tax. And it was reported there was a 9% increase of population for the first 8 months after the program was announced, reversing the declining trend of population trend of previous years. So the program was initiated by Lee Jae-myung, launched in March last year, and the new governor Kim Dong-yeon, elected in June and inaugurated in July, is continuing the program. So quality of life, economic growth, and the community empowerment are indicators to be measured. And the Seoul Safety Income Project is a 3-year experiment as a randomized controlled trial in Seoul. So 800 households have been randomly selected as a treatment group, and 1,600 households are randomly selected as control group. Both treatment and control group is equal to or less than 85% of median household income. So it's not to the entire population. Yeah. And the program was launched in July last year after Oh Se-hoon was re-elected as mayor of Seoul. The guarantee income is 42.5% of median household income, and the take-back rate is 50%. So the safety income is 50% of the gap between the household's income and the median household income. The guarantee level is substantially higher than Lee Jae-myung proposed very modest level of universal basic income. So, $700 per month for a single person household.
Malheureusement, le président coréen qui a gagné l'élection, lui, est contre, hein, donc il n'y aura pas d'implémentation au niveau national pendant le mandat de ce nouveau président, mais on voit qu'il y a quand même tout un tas d'hommes politiques qui ont des projets de type basic income dans différentes provinces et municipalités, quoi. Il continue sur les expérimentations de revenus universels pour les paysans. Historiquement, ils avaient donné ce basic income au fait d'exercer le métier d'agriculteur. Puis finalement, ils ont vu que ça posait des problèmes et ils sont passés à un schéma où la condition, c'est d'être résident. Hein, donc, qu'on exerce une fonction agricole ou pas, c'est le fait d'être résident qui donne droit à ce revenu. Et ce qui est assez particulier, c'est qu'il est donné dans une monnaie locale et qui est périssable au bout de 3 mois. Hein, donc, c'est vraiment, ils font tout pour que ce soit un revenu qui très, très vite se transforme dans de la consommation locale. Et ça, depuis le début de leurs expérimentations, ils jouent beaucoup sur le fait d'avoir des monnaies locales pour leur revenu universel, quoi. Et donc là, ils ont obtenu déjà des résultats intéressants en termes d'augmentation de la population sur les villages en question par rapport aux villages qui n'ont pas le revenu universel, quoi. Donc, la deuxième expérimentation que Jong-sung nous explique, donc, elle, c'est sur Séoul, où là, ils expérimentent un revenu universel sur une population prise au hasard. Donc là, visiblement, ils expérimentent quand même un revenu universel d'un montant important, hein, puisqu'on parle de 700 $ par mois, un célibataire, hein. Donc là, visiblement, il y a une volonté de tester les effets d'un revenu universel, d'un montant tout à fait substantiel dans cette expérience sur la ville de Séoul.
On remarque quand même le taux marginal de prélèvement, hein. On parle de 66%, 85%. Donc c'est vraiment un taux de prélèvement qui est extrêmement important, en incluant les prélèvements sociaux et compagnie, hein. Donc là, dès qu'on monte en montant, là, il tape un peu le plafond, parce que là, il arrive sur des taux de prélèvement qui sont absolument énormes. Donc, bon, personnellement, j'aurais des petits doutes, et je poserai la question tout à l'heure pour savoir quelle est la probabilité de succès de ce genre de schéma.
Let me give you my speculations about what makes UBI relatively popular in South Korea. So, especially European Social Survey shows, according to Rusma and Van Oerschild, people who are in a more vulnerable social economic positions support basic income more, and a basic income is more supported in countries with higher levels of material deprivation. And then does South Korea fit to this condition? So let me briefly give an overview of South Korea's trajectory of the last century. So after Korea was liberated from Japanese colonial rule, there is a significant land reform and the Korean War, which dissolved the traditional landed elite and produced very equal distribution of income and wealth, which is followed by rapid industrialization and growth with equity. There is democratization, but there was increasing table concentration, table or conglomerates, family controlled conglomerates like Samsung, Hyundai, SK, and also inequality in income and wealth rose rapidly. And welfare state developed very belatedly in Korea. And Korea's public social spending is still very low level, albeit is rapidly increasing. So still it's about 12% of GDP. It's about half of OECD average and just above 1/3 of France. And the public social expenditure, you see, so this is OECD average. So France tops, and Finland, Denmark follow. And South Korea, where is Korea? Here, just above Mexico and below Chile, Turkey, Colombia. Yeah. And especially, so cash benefits and the services, Korea services, especially health, is not very high.
Le Jong-sung nous donne sa vision des raisons pour lesquelles le revenu universel est populaire en Corée du Sud. Pourquoi il y a un tel engouement pour cet outil en Corée. Et puis, cette concentration industrielle ce qu'on appelle les chaebols, donc ce sont les grands conglomérats comme Samsung ou Hyundai, etc., qui fait qu'en fait, la population coréenne est un peu divisée entre les gens qui sont salariés dans ces grands conglomérats avec des assurances sociales, etc., et puis d'un autre côté, tout un tas de gens précaires, auto-entrepreneurs, avec extrêmement peu de couverture sociale. Et puis globalement, un pays qui dépense beaucoup moins que nous pour la couverture sociale et pour la redistribution, quoi. Donc c'est ce contexte de très forte croissance économique et d'augmentation des inégalités qui crée un appétit pour cet outil. Voilà, donc la comparaison avec les autres pays, où on voit que la Corée est quasiment au niveau des États-Unis, enfin parmi les pays où les 10% les plus riches ont la plus grande part de la richesse nationale, alors que nous, on est donc plutôt aux alentours de 55%. Eux, ils sont plutôt à 65%.
Why did the public support for universal basic income decline ahead of the presidential election? So various opinion surveys shows the public support was relatively high in early last year, but in the fall of last year, the public support declined rapidly. And in January and February, just before the March presidential election, it recovered slightly, but still less than half. Questions did not explicitly mention basic income should be financed by increased taxes. So 2018 KGSS did not ask this question, but this shows there is some time trend of increasing support and declining support. Also, this shows when the salience of financing UBI by increased taxes becomes salient, the public support can decline. So those who are economically precarious, like tenants, financially worried or dissatisfied, non-employed, rural residents, tend to support the universal basic income in Korea. And the females and the non-married were not significantly significant in 2018, but in 2021, they become significantly positive about the universal basic income. But income was not significant. And the progressives were supportive of a universal basic income than the conservatives. And those who are satisfied with the incumbent liberal government of President Moon Jae-in tended to support universal basic income. Welfare attitudes were strongly associated with the support for universal basic income. Those who supported increasing taxes for the middle class to expand the social welfare, and those who supported increasing the minimum wage, those who were sympathetic to immigrant workers were significantly more likely to support the universal basic income. Support for universal basic income declined when the need to increase the taxes to finance universal basic income became explicit. Also, when I included interaction term between time period and the political satisfaction and the time period and the party orientation, the coefficient for time period became positive, which means that support for universal basic income would have increased, not decreased, had political satisfaction and the political orientation not been changed between 2018 and 2021. So support for universal basic income declined largely because political dissatisfaction with the incumbent government increased. So President Moon Jae-in's government became very unpopular. That was associated with declining support for universal basic income. What are the implications for the prospects of universal basic income in South Korea from the previous experience and these survey results? So proponents of universal basic income tend to emphasize that universal basic income can get popular support because a universal basic income scheme will make majority of our population beneficiaries. However, it's difficult to maintain public support when the opponents emphasize the need to increase taxes. Also, it was hard to persuade many people why the rich as well as the poor should receive basic income. So I consider the possibility of framing universal basic income as a negative income tax, or proposing that universal basic income and the negative income tax can be integrated into a feasible scheme may help increase popular support. The students to choose between negative income tax scheme and the universal basic income, which have exactly the same distributional consequences. Students overwhelmingly chose an NIT scheme over a UBI scheme. May be better to present the universal basic income as a negative income tax that has exactly the same distributional consequence to get more popular support.
Alors, ce qui est intéressant dans les sondages donc, qui ont été montrés ici, quand ils font des sondages où la question inclut explicitement le fait qu'il va falloir augmenter les taxes pour financer le basic income, où là on voit aussi une nette baisse du soutien populaire dans les sondages, quoi. Son analyse de ces résultats de sondage, qu'il vaut peut-être mieux présenter la chose comme un impôt négatif, hein, donc le negative income tax, hein, que finalement, pour une redistribution équivalente, il semble plus acceptable politiquement d'avoir un schéma de type impôt négatif qu'un schéma de type revenu universel. Donc, c'est aujourd'hui la réflexion qu'ils se font.
Ils ont proposé deux schémas, un qui était présenté comme un revenu de base universel, UBI, et un autre schéma qui était présenté comme un impôt négatif. Et en fait, ils étaient tous les deux conçus de manière à ce que les faits soient strictement identiques. Et les gens ont spontanément plutôt apprécié le schéma d'impôt négatif plutôt que le revenu de base universel. Ce qui montre bien d'ailleurs, par rapport à nos discussions précédentes, depuis l'année dernière, on travaille là-dessus, l'intérêt de peut-être de reformuler nos propositions plus dans une approche impôt négatif, qui sera peut-être mieux perçue par la population en général, peut-être moins par les militants, mais plus par la population en général, positivement. Voilà. Et puis, le dernier point qu'il mentionne à la fin, concernant les personnes plus âgées, l'idée d'avoir un revenu de base d'un montant plus élevé, avec un taux de prélèvement également plus élevé pour les populations retraitées. Un truc que j'avais également développé dans mon bouquin. Donc ça, c'est une idée voilà, qui résonne bien par rapport à ce qu'on avait pu travailler de notre côté aussi, quoi.
And lastly, basic income reality is the theme of the 22nd PN Congress that will be held in Seoul and Gangnam or South Jeolla province. And also online participation is possible.
Jong-sung nous termine sa présentation en nous invitant tous au prochain congrès du bien, qui aura donc lieu en Corée, 23 au 26 août, et auquel on peut participer soit physiquement pour ceux qui veulent faire un voyage en Corée, soit en ligne, puisque la plupart des conférences sont retransmises en ligne par des moyens numériques.